Look, I don't know who let Ego design a 2-week itinerary for the Blue Lock cast, but this man really has children leaping out of planes, getting smacked by temple monks, and even shooting rifles while hiding in foliage. Forget about the ref, police, do something. Blue Lock's recent chapter 305 wasn't just a surprise vacation arc, but rather gave us a rapid-fire look at the wild environments each player is being subjected to during their 14-day break. And yes, I said break. These aren't even the official team or football drills yet. Ego really decided to throw each of them into weirdly specific routines just to sharpen their instincts, improve their senses, and maybe even traumatize them a little before the real grind starts, because once these 2 weeks are up, they'll only have 31 days left until the U20 World Cup arc. So in today's video, we're going through every single one of these training setups to figure out what kind of benefit Ego had in mind for each player. Whether it's mental or physical, we're breaking down how each of these activities could help push these players one step closer to that #1 spot. If you enjoy these kinds of breakdowns and want to stay caught up with all things Blue Lock related, make sure to subscribe to the channel, comment below your favorite training setup, and join the Discord down below. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it. Going in chronological order, we start with Shohei Barou, who Ego sent to a university with his letter reading, "Go there if you want to become king again." When Barou turns around, he's met with a huge crowd of men who are all American football players. For those of you who watch the NFL, you know that football isn't just about size, but also your speed, agility, and dodging opponents while maintaining momentum. Barou already has incredible size and speed, so this training is probably about helping him combine his raw power with quick directional changes and evasive maneuvers. We've already seen him spamming chop dribbles, so improving his ability to shift direction fast both on and off the ball can make him a nightmare to stop. Mentally, being surrounded by these bigger, stronger, and more mature athletes might humble Barou a bit, teaching him that sometimes a quiet confidence beats a loud ego. This poor guy showed up thinking he'd be the king and will leave knowing what it feels like to be the ball. Moving on to Meguro Batsura, we see him arriving at an elementary school where his letter reads, "Learn by teaching. Understand what it's like to be a kid again." Surrounded by a swarm of excited children eager to learn football from him, Batsura steps in as their substitute or PE teacher for the day. Batsura's style has always been free-flowing and imaginative, but he struggles to put it into words. That's why he often uses terms like ego juice to describe the concepts. Teaching kids who naturally have wild imaginations could actually help him break down and understand his own style better by simplifying it into basic parts. Plus, just goofing around and dribbling around dozens of little kids who are all over the pitch is kind of training in itself, as it forces Batsura to be precise, careful, and creative all at once, which can only sharpen his control and agility. Cutting to Chigure Hyoma, we see him swimming laps in a pool with his note reading, "Throw away your legs and become a fish. Acquire a heart and lung that can endure your speed." Ego's message is pretty clear here, as this training is all about building Chigure's endurance and lung capacity while protecting his legs. Swimming is a low-impact workout, perfect for someone with an injury or prone to getting hurt. Since Chigure's right leg has been a problem, this is a smart way for him to keep up his conditioning without risking further damage before going all out. Ego definitely knows what he's doing here. Give it another week, and Chigure's going to be navigating the pitch with sonar and clicking sounds. Moving on to Raichi, Ryu, and Kunigami, they're all diving into combat skills to tackle their specific weaknesses. Starting with Raichi, he's training in wrestling, which makes perfect sense for improving his defensive stance and center of balance to clamp down on opponents. Considering he's already held his own against Mark Snuffy, who's skilled in jujutsu, this wrestling boost should seriously level Raichi's man-marking ability way up. Ryu, on the other hand, seems to be learning about some defensive combat like taekwondo or karate. This fits perfectly with his style, as his insane acrobatics and jumping ability will get even better with increased flexibility and precision. Finally, Kunigami Rensuke is working out on boxing or MMA inside of a gym with a trainer. This is clearly about building his physicality, but also sharpening his mental focus and flow, which is something he desperately needs. Honestly, I've been crossing my fingers for a wildcard flashback in the first 2 matches of the U20 World Cup, because I'm so ready to see a new side of Kunigami. Moving on to his mortal rival Shidou Ryuze, his note reads, "Do everything that you can on your bucket list. Blue Lock will cover the expenses." Instead of anything chill or normal, Shidou is literally jumping out of a plane and skydiving. At first it might seem a bit out there, but this is all about keeping his mind sharp and senses alive as he thrives on excitement and unpredictability. This wild bucket list challenge is meant to keep that fire burning, so when the real football training kicks in, he's ready to explode on the field with that same intensity or at least chase a similar high. Since football is how Shidou expresses himself, maybe this is about living fully before diving back into his ecstasy and highs. Shifting from that wild-ass training, we land right in the calm of a traditional Japanese temple where Itoshirin is deep in meditation. His mind is tangled up thinking about his rival Isagi Yoichi and his brother Itoshi Sai. Rin's Destroyer Eye and Flow State give him an insane power-up, but Ego points out that Rin is way too impulsive when he's in the zone. According to his note, Rin needs to realize that destruction alone is not enough motivation to enter the flow. It has to come from something deeper, a personal reason. Igo's basically telling him that someone as skilled as Itoshirian cannot base his ego on just beating others or the simple thrill of destruction. Finally, we come to Reo Mikage, who's already on the treadmill working on his cardio while thinking about Nagi Seishiro being locked off. Reo might not be the best at any one specific skill, but his real strength is being a copycat chameleon. The more he observes and mimics, the more versatile he becomes, and he could effectively become a second version of any player on the team. It's really on some Blue Lock rival shit, because just imagine having 2 Oliver Aikus against 1 hyper-offensive squad. Plus, having footage of all 22 players could give him the chance to combine moves, kinda like how Isagi did mixing volleying with Nagi's juggling to create the twin gun volley. So who knows what crazy combos Reo might cook up. Honestly though, I have no idea what he could learn from Fukaku-gen, but who knows. Onto pages 18 and 19, which briefly show the rest of the side cast and their training, we firstly have Otoya Ida, who's seen completely immersed in a VR headset like he's about to play Night 5 of FNAF VR. And while I did joke about him running horror games in the metaverse, it's probably more accurate to say this is a specialized spatial awareness training. Otoya's strength has always been his stealthy off-the-ball movement, slipping into gaps defenders don't even notice until it's too late. So being placed in a stimulated environment that forces him to react and navigate limited spaces in real time is actually kind of perfect. And low-key, who's to say horror games wouldn't help? Think about it. Timing your movements, dodging animatronics, staying calm under pressure, it's all actually beneficial to Otoya in some weird way. The end result is going to be an even stealthier ninja who can break past defenders off the ball with ease. Next up, we have Tabito Karasu sprinting through the mountains. On the surface, this is probably about building his overall stamina since he's often involved in heavy defensive work and pushing forward when needed. But there also could be the mental side to it. Karasu struggles with insecurity and doesn't see himself as exceptional like some of the other players do. Spending time running alone in the mountains could give him a chance to clear his head, meditate, and build some much needed confidence in his own abilities. Some players don't really have much to go on as you tell, but I will try my best despite that. Moving on to Kyoto-jin, we catch him leaping over railings and pulling off some insane parkour moves through the city. As a breakdancer known for his nimble and unpredictable movement, this kind of training is perfect for building his already impressive agility. Ego probably intends for him to focus heavily on core strength, balance, and coordination between his hands and feet. Kura is basically impossible to knock down thanks to his breakdancing background and physicality, so this parkour work will only make him more acrobatic and even harder to stop. Next up is Kurana Ranze, who is seen wholesomely sprinting alongside a bloodhound, giving it his absolute all. Kurana already boasts one of the fastest speeds in the series and can orbit around players like Isagi with ease during the planet hotline. This training will help him sharpen his quick turns and agility, making his movements even more unpredictable on the field. Plus, running with the dog will boost his stamina, which is crucial since Kurana doesn't have metavision or tons of endurance. This way he can keep up with that blazing speed for longer stretches to help rack up assist. Another crazy one like Shida Ryuze is Sendo Shuto, who's completely laid out in some tall grass, weapon in hand, peering through a scope. It's like Ego just dropped him straight into Shangri-La and said, survive until around 100, no perkaholic. Jokes aside, we know from the Egoist Bible that Sendo's biggest weakness is patience, and hunting and or sniping demands a ton of that. So this training could really help him balance out that impulsiveness. Plus, the focus required might make it easier for him to access his flow state more consistently. It could also sharpen his peripheral vision and improve his ability to take quick, precise chances on the field, which might even lead to him developing the visual prowess of Predator Eye. A boost that could bring Sendo back into the spotlight is a truly key player and ace striker, and honestly, I would love to see that as a fellow ginger. Another unusual but interesting one is Nanase, who's seen carefully using chopsticks to pick up and sort tiny bean-like objects. This might look odd at first, but it's actually a clever way for him to train his ambidextrous legs by conditioning his whole body for better coordination and balance. A lot of people wonder why he's not seen practicing his legs directly, but I'm pretty sure he's working on both. Building balance and control throughout the entire body is just as important, especially for someone like him who relies on precise, versatile movements. Yo Hiyori is, of course, back at it again with the video games, training the way he always has. Whether he's gaming or breaking down match footage is probably to sharpen his eye coordination and train that elite sense of spatial awareness so he can continue dropping those dimes and make the most of his metavision. Now we don't actually see a controller in his hand, so for all we know, he could be in deep analyst mode like Isagi, studying player tendencies and team structures off DVD. But let's be honest, there's a strong possibility he's just grinding rematch and rage quitting after every loss on the beta. Either way, his game has always been about staying calm, reading the field, and making precise plays, so I expect for him to evolve hella. Next up is Iko Nico, who's clearly focused on building up his physique to hold his own in physical duels. Nico already has metavision and is one of the best defenders in Blue Lock when it comes to reading the field and tackling offensive threats. The reality is though, he's still young and not the most physically imposing. In the U20 World Cup, he's going to be going against full-grown men and elite strikers, so he's going to need the body to back it up. This training is all about making sure he does not get bodied off the ball every single time he tries to hold his ground. The goalkeeper training we see in this chapter is actually some pretty interesting stuff. Starting off with Gengagamaru, he's out here playing baseball, and from the looks of it, probably as a catcher. This might sound random at first, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Catchers in baseball have to track fast-moving pitches, react in split-second timing, and make quick explosive movements, exactly the kind of reflexes and coordination a top-tier goalkeeper needs. It's perfect for helping Gagamaru sharpen his diving, jumping, and overall reaction times between the posts. On the other hand, we have Fukakugen sitting underneath a waterfall doing some traditional Japanese meditation. According to his Egoist Bible entry, Fukaku struggles with lapses in concentration, which obviously is not ideal for a goalkeeper. So this training is all about improving mental clarity, focus, and maintaining composure under pressure. One keeper is training their body for sharpness and reflexes, and the other is training their mind for focus and discipline. Yukimiya Ginyu is out here pulling out a full-on sword like he's about to enter a shonen battle arc, and honestly, it kinda threw me off at first. But after thinking about it, there's a good chance this is some kind of kendo or swordsmanship-based training, which surprisingly makes a lot of sense for someone like him. Kendo is all about reaction, timing, precision, and one-on-one combat focus, all of which are perfect for Yukimiya, the so-called emperor of one-on-one dribbling. On top of that, this kind of training could actually have some benefits for his visual issues. Kendo demands intense concentration and eye tracking, and constantly locking onto your opponent could act as a controlled way to strengthen his visual focus. That said, we don't know the full medical details of his condition, so it's hard to say how much that can actually help. Lastly, we have Oliver Aiku, who's shown sitting down in a clean indoor office, studying what looks to be a textbook on sports administration. And while this might seem to be the most boring assignment out of everyone, it actually makes a ton of sense when you look deeper into Aiku's character. As a former captain and U20 player, Aiku has always shown a more mature, leadership-oriented mindset. Giving him coursework like this isn't just about physical training, but rather sharpening his game sense, decision-making, and overall leadership IQ. It also fits really well with how Aiku plays, as he doesn't just defend, he reads the game from an overarching view. So these books on leadership and Kingscraft might end up being the scariest evolution of them all. Lastly, we have Zantetsu, who's seen lining up to run sprints or do interval training, and honestly, this one's pretty straightforward. Zantetsu's main weapon has always been his raw speed and acceleration, so it makes total sense that his training is all about refining that edge. But beyond just getting faster, this might actually make him one of Blue Lock's most important weapons against international teams like France. Jolie and Loki and the French Fords are known for their insane pace and relentless offense, so having someone like Zantetsu who can keep up stride for stride will be a huge help. And that wraps up the full breakdown of every Blue Lock player's wild training environment during their 14-day break. From sword duels and skydiving to wrestle matches and VR stealth missions, Ego's idea of a vacation is clearly just a lighter form of psychological warfare. Let me know which training arc you thought was the most useful or entertaining down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on future Blue Lock breakdowns. This is my third day in a row of long-form content and shorts even while sick, so just saying, I gotta give some props to myself.